Can I first of all say to our host, Lithuania, thank you so much for the incredible effort that you've made with all the parliamentarians who are here from all over the European Union, with the informal defence ministers meeting which I've just concluded, and now as we look forward to the Gymnich. On our agenda today, we'll begin by also looking at the defence issues and security issues that are important as we think about the European Council in December to respond to the request from December 2012 to come up with proposals and ideas for taking forward our work in CSDP, as it's known, Common Security and Defence Policy, and we will over lunch debate that from a foreign ministerial perspective so that we're able to move forward from my interim report to the final report to European leaders. We will, of course, think very much about our neighbourhood. We will be coming back to Vilnius for the summit of the Eastern Partnership, incredibly important relationship with our 6 neighbouring countries to the east. And I'm sure that Linus, who will be our host again, and who's played such an important role, along with President Grybauskaitė, in supporting the Eastern Partnership, will have a great contribution to make in that discussion. It is an extremely important part of our neighbourhood. I imagine there will be a great focus on our southern neighbourhood, and Syria will figure large in the debate we have later on today, where ministers will be able to reflect on some of the ideas coming out from the G20, where we've stayed closely in touch through both presidents of the European Union who are present, and also to consider when Secretary Kerry arrives tomorrow. He's arriving at the Gymnich at his request, both to talk to us about his amazing work on the Middle East peace process, and I pay tribute to him again for that, but undoubtedly too to talk about Syria. And we will, I imagine, also discuss issues around Egypt, Tunisia, and our work in countries that we often describe as being countries in transition. So a full agenda for the ministers, but also I hope for them a little chance to see this wonderful city and a little bit of Lithuania. Thank you.
Minister, would you like to answer it?
Thank you very much, High Representative Cathy, for your nice words. We're extremely happy to welcome so many guests this big week in Vilnius. Many guests coming, but not just to be present, but we're really discussing serious issues. And happy to say that today's agenda, as it was already said, for instance, European security and defense policy, it's not just for defense ministers to discuss, but also for foreign ministers. We're applying this comprehensive approach, so to say, to the issues to make sure that the meeting of the heads of state in December will be really substantial and meaningful, because we'd like to make our defense stronger, more united, address modern challenges, to mention cyber defense, cyber issues, energy issues, and which is really up to date to the common challenges, and we believe we will be able to prepare for the summit properly. Also, just to add, not to repeating what was said, all these partnerships are very important, and we hope that countries which have chosen the way to associate themselves with European thinking, with Europe, economically, politically, they will be allowed to do that. And we will be happy to help them to express our solidarity, and we will discuss these issues as well. And we were very happy that very good timing tomorrow, basically, to focus our discussions on Syria, also on Middle East, other problems, but Syria will be probably the key. And we need more coordinated approach. I'm sure that after the discussions, we will be able to come up with a more coordinated position, more common view, because world needs to react to what happened. It cannot be unaccountable. The use of chemical weapons unacceptable. It shouldn't repeat it. We must do the best we can do, all institutions and us as well, individually and collectively, to prevent this happening again. So this is also the task for the world, for our organizations. I'm grateful very much for the presence of our representatives. We appreciate her leadership in these issues, and we are trying to be, cooperative and constructive these days. Thank you.
I'll take Adrian first.
Can you confirm that you spoke with the Iranian Prime Minister on the treaty UN General Assembly to discuss the nuclear issue, please. And are you encouraged that Iran has put the Foreign Ministry in charge of negotiating on the nuclear file?
I have indeed spoken to the Foreign Minister of Iran this morning. It's the third time I've spoken to him in the last few weeks on a range of issues. But today specifically, I was responding to the news that the Foreign Ministry will take responsibility for the talks. I told him that I stand ready with my colleagues to get the talks moving. We have dates that we have available, and he and I agreed that we would meet early in the week of the General Assembly in order to try and move this forward. It remains an extremely important part of my agenda.
That question there.
Yes, and how do the difficult discussions in St. Petersburg influence the Gimnick these days?
Well, the Gimnick will have its own discussion, and it will, of course, be very mindful of the debate that is going on in St. Petersburg. And I think there are 3 or 4 key elements that we just need to keep in mind where the international community stands together. The first is in our abhorrence of the use of chemical weapons. In all my discussions with many countries across the world and within the European Union, no one's suggesting that this wasn't a chemical attack. Secondly, the importance of the United Nations. We always look to the Security Council, but we also look to the leadership of Ban Ki-moon and Lakhdar Brahimi, who's been given a very challenging role in trying to move forward to the third and most important point, which is the end of this conflict will be done by diplomatic political means. There's so much energy that goes on every single day to try and reach out to those who can make a difference and who can come together and try and stop the terrible killing, the terrible plight of people in Syria. I always think especially of the children displaced, injured, killed, orphaned, who suffer terribly in this present situation. And all of those are common threats. Of course, the question of what may happen in these next days and weeks in terms of the United States will be part of our discussion. It's why Secretary Kerry's visit to us is perhaps even more timely. But on those particular themes that I've described to you, I think there is a universal sense that this is what we have to do. In discussions as I've had this week with people from the Gulf states and from elsewhere, that is a constant message I give. We have got to get to the point where people sit around the table, and we have got to use all the political pressure we possibly can to get that to happen as soon as possible. It cannot be a long-term objective. It must be an objective that we reach for now.
Lawrence.
Baroness Ashton, sorry to press on Iran, but are you encouraged by the fact that the Foreign Minister will lead the political file? Will it make any difference? And when can we expect, after UNRWA, some talks to take place?
You don't have to apologise for pressing on Iran at all. Adrian's question, I had 2 parts and I didn't answer it. I said to the Foreign Minister that I was encouraged to hear that we know where the interlocutor will be from. I don't yet know who the interlocutor will be, and that's an issue that I want to talk with the Foreign Minister about. He and I have already established a rapport. He will play an important role in the relationship between the European Union and Iran, but it remains to be seen quite how the decisions are taken about exactly what the formulation will be for the talks themselves. I said to him that we are ready to come very quickly to talks, and I hope that when we meet in New York, we'll have the opportunity to set dates there and then. I can tell you that my colleagues in the E3+3 are ready and willing to do so. We've got some good proposals on the table. We are always willing to listen to good proposals from Iran, but we really want to move now quickly to resolve this.
Last question at the back. Anna.
Have you already talked to the Foreign Minister about Syria as well? And if not so, would you suggest that would be a good idea to talk to Iran about?
I have indeed discussed the issue. The Iranian Foreign Minister asked to speak to me not long after August the 21st, the date of the attack, and I took the call and discussed with him. Of course, they take a different view about where all this came from, but I don't believe dispute the fact of the attack. And I made the points to him that I've made to everybody. We have to get a political process that's going to solve this. Somehow there's a sort of sense that, oh, well, that's an easy option. No, it isn't. It's incredibly difficult to get people around a table who have fought each other, killed each other, and who have extraordinarily different views of how things move forward. But in the end, it's what you have to do. And I hope we will be able to play a part in doing that.
Thanks, everyone.